May go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome back to What the Duck. We're here with the second episode of the Moonduck TV exclusive podcast. Whoa, Daddy. We've got some new faces here today. We've got Noxville joining us as a special guest, and of course, syndereN, SUNSfan, and pimpmuckL joining us from the Moonduck staff. Boys, how is everyone feeling on this fine Sunday evening?
Great.
I'm okay.
It's fine. Doing great, man.
I'm really tired.
Yeah, I hear Noxville had a
Perfect show.
crazy birthday bash yesterday. Still recovering from said birthday celebrations.
Yeah, I played some pubs with Durka from 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. afterwards. It was not good.
A bloody disaster indeed. How old are you now, Noxville? I actually have no idea.
My birthday actually only on the 30th, and I turned 27, so...
Congratulations. You know,
days.
I recognize that shirt you're wearing, by the way. That is one
The
of the
Target
emergency
special.
shirts
Yeah.
that you got at TI5 when they lost your luggage and you needed to go buy some clothes. Target for the win.
$10, pretty great value.
I believe they call it Target, by the way.
Oh, sorry. God, I didn't realize we were so sophisticated. Shannon, what's the good word, man? How you living?
Pretty good. I just had a smoothie. So very happy with myself right now.
Wow.
Fabulous.
Thanks for asking.
My gosh. Okay, very good. So, guys, today's podcast, we got a couple of quick bits we're going to talk about in our weekly roundup. Then after that, this podcast is going to be dedicated to 6.85. All of us, except one of us, have had a chance to play some games on this patch. I'm sure you can guess who might be the one that has played few games, but he's going to share his insight with us regardless. Off Shannon. Well done.
I'm busy, man. What do you want from me?
I'm a busy man.
I ain't got time for them games, I tell you what.
Yeah. What are you doing, JJ? How you living, man? It's good to have you on the panel. You're always behind the scenes.
Dude, I'm just like, this is so crazy. I'm actually in front of a camera. I don't even know how to behave here. I can't, like, run around half naked anymore. I don't
Are
know
we
what's
sponsored
happening.
by LG or something? What is this?
No,
Yeah,
this
what's
is
going on?
This is a IM. This is a old StarCraft 2 team. It's like
Oh.
super
I
stylish.
like
Oh,
how the
incredible
logo is
mirror.
even smaller than the sponsor. That's cool.
Yeah, it's because they had a name sponsor and there was some big things happening. It was not fun. Anyway, yeah, perfect, great.
Very good. So first thing on the docket, we're going to give a shout out to Ireland. I watched a little bit of it. I know Noxville watched a little bit of it. They had some pretty crazy production value. Some of their little tidbits made it onto the subreddit. Just wanted to give a shout out to those guys. Shane doing the dirty work to bring some LAN action to Ireland. What are you thinking, Noxville? Did you enjoy the coverage that you got to see from some of Ireland's finest?
Yeah, I think that the production value that they had going there, Scriff, doing his thing as a dedicated observer. They even had like monitors that came up and down. That was like the greatest thing I've ever seen in Dota 2 production value.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
I saw-
surprised
I
if
was
they're going to
very
host
jelly.
the full major. They're going to host the full major.
I was
Definitely.
taking
Yeah,
notes the
look
whole
out.
time. The whole time.
Yeah, I saw that clip where Pyrian was fully elevated. That was quite the sensual experience.
OD Pixel got some hate, some fake hate, but hate nonetheless. on
I
Reddit.
just showed
like
his
that.
I just showed his picture on stream where it was how do I put it, like
His red face.
yeah. That's great.
What do they call that face, Zyori?
What face? You gotta
gonna-
link me.
It's like,
I didn't see this hate that you're talking about. I didn't know that Reddit could hate on OD Pixel.
Well,
I
it's
thought
no,
that
it's
was...
not. It's
No,
not
no, no,
real
no.
hate. It was
Oh, okay,
Pyrian
okay.
saying, "Go tell OD Pixel he's a piece of shit" or something like that.
Ooh,
But
fighting words.
No,
So,
fuck
no,
OD
his
Pixel
face
was
that
funny.
he made. There's a word. There's a term for it, and I just can't think of it right now. I figured if anybody
Mid-coitus.
knew, it'd be you.
Wait, I'm gonna ask.
Eh,
Wait, this one? Check stream. No, I
It's the one
just
where
posted
his
it. I think
face
this
is
is the
red.
one you wanted.
His face does look really red. I think that's called sunburn.
no, not. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Sunburn.
All right.
I don't know. That is a really weird facial expression.
It's
It
something
does...
to do with like ejaculating. I don't know, but
Okay, maybe coitus. That could be the proper word. Man, looks
it-
like they've been living the dream. Look at all those empty beer glasses and McDonald's. My God, where it's at.
Ireland.
You know, I almost went to Ireland. I'm kind of sad that I didn't go, but it didn't fit into my busy schedule here in Sweden. It's been a tough life. I spent some time in the jacuzzi today. I was really busy.
oh man, sounds like a dream.
Tough, man. It's really tough. Sin, did you get to catch any of the Ireland action?
Not really. I've actually been pretty busy streaming. Both today and yesterday I streamed quite a lot, so...
How'd the offlane treat you, good sir?
I did host them though, so I'd like to think I
Oh.
contributed.
Hey, that's more than I contributed. I tweeted twice and watched 20 minutes of it. I tried.
I mean, I remember tuning into it, and then they had technical issues, and then I checked back later, and they had technical issues. So
They had no.
that was my Ireland experience, I think.
But has there
No
ever been a
AC.
LAN with no technical issues? There's always like problems of some kind.
Has there ever been a LAN with only technical issues? Is the question.
I think the Summit 2 came
Yeah, I
from
was
the
just
results.
about to say. But at least it's finished, right? You
Gaming
can- you can
Paradise?
finish it.
Gaming Paradise is probably the pinnacle example.
But
I
that
guess.
was not even a LAN, technically. It never started, so
Well, it
maybe that
kind of
doesn't
wasn't.
count.
Yes, right.
I mean, the team showed
Yeah,
up, so
that's
that-
true.
yeah.
Well, didn't Secret like stop after a 7-hour layover in like the middle of nowhere, and then they were like, "Oh, the LAN's cancelled. Let's head home."
They did? I don't know.
They
I thought
might
they
have.
never even got to go yet. I thought they didn't leave yet when it was cancelled, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, they were definitely in transit because
Oh, that's
Eternal
horrible.
Envy was so bored that he was DMing me on Twitter. That has never happened before. It'll probably never
Wow.
happen again. But I
That-
had a nice 20-minute chat with Envy. That's the level of boredom that he sunk to.
I mean, I'm already really bored to be in this call with you, but to DM, that's
On Twitter, no
got him.
less. Do you know how
Yeah, that's-
infuriating it is to try and text back and forth on Twitter? My God. He could have at least added me on Steam. My God.
They got rid of the character limit, though, didn't they, on private messages?
Yeah. They did. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh,
All
they
right,
did?
fine.
Oh, nice.
You
I
can
shouldn't have
now-
slammed Twitter so hard. There goes our potential Twitter sponsorship, guys. Fuck. My God.
That would be a sweet sponsor. We get our own moonduck shirts. We have the Twitter logo on the sleeve.
Dude, if I could just get a confirmed account on Twitter, I would be so happy. I don't know how to make that happen. There's a kid from my high school graduating class. Mind you, only 150 people in my graduating class. He's fucking verified on Twitter. He's just one of those shitty YouTube bloggers. Oh, today I had ice
How many
cream.
followers
Hello,
does he
hello."
have?
Let's see, actually. I'm going to look it up.
Can you post it in the chat so we can stalk him?
My old friend is verified and I'm not.
No, he was not my friend. I
My
was
old
not a big fan.
acquaintance.
He's got
There is-
71K Twitter followers. My
Oh, damn.
God. He's so
Well-
much more
Oh,
popular
So
than
you're
me.
not the
I-
most famous person in your 150 person
I'm not.
class, huh?
Isn't that a
That's too
sad
bad.
reality? It really
That
is. Look
That's
at him.
actually surprising.
He's a lover of bad puns and dad jokes. That about sums it up.
You know,
to
syndereN
a
and I
T.
are verified on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
how
don't
the
know
hell
how
that
it happened, but
Me
I
neither.
woke up
Andrew,
one
it's
day and I was
because
verified. I was like, great.
Andrew, he's got a better haircut than you, so
Oh,
hence
fuck.
need a more professional picture.
Maybe 70K is the magical border you need to cross to get verified.
No, a
Maybe
lot of people are not verified on Twitter.
been verified for a long time.
I've seen people with like a couple hundred that are verified. It's just
Yeah.
you probably just need to know somebody. I have no idea about
Yeah.
Facebook though. I have no clue. I was just like you.
That one is
you,
super
You had
random.
to apply for it,
syndereN,
right,
I
syndereN?
understand. SUNSfan, I don't know how that happened.
I have more than him. Wait, don't I? Wait, I gotta check now. Hold on.
Can we,
I
can we
have-
stop trying to like EP ourselves here?
E-penis is big.
Because I've
here.
like 3K or some shit, and I feel
Yo,
really bad right now.
pimpmuckL,
how
that's
many
a
do you
pretty
have?
small online donger you got there. Let's talk some more about that one.
Let's talk about
Toby's got
perspective.
138k
Little
and
shit.
he's not verified.
All right, syndereN's dong is 48,000 meters or likes.
Wow. That's a
Oh.
minor exaggeration, but it's actually pretty close to the
I
truth.
beat you on Facebook, but you beat me on Twitter, I think.
I actually feel like Facebook likes are the least useful of the social media following.
Really? I think Twitter is actually. I
Facebook's-
completely
Facebook's
disagree.
definitely low.
Twitter's great, dude. You can blast it out to all your fans. If it's really good, people can share it. It goes viral. Facebook's like, listen, this seems like a pretty cool post. How would you like to pay us to show it to the people that have already liked your page? Doesn't
I don't
that
know,
sound like a good
the,
deal?
From the stats that I've seen, I mean, it could just be a different demographic still, but it's still within Dota. But from the stats that I've seen, it's more likely somebody's going to click something on Facebook than Twitter. Like, the reach is far greater for us. at
Yeah,
least,
but the
on
interaction
Twitter.
is a lot lower. I used to work for a social media company for like 3 years doing tracking online discussion, and Facebook is like very quickly becoming worthless. It's like probably already worthless.
I've noticed
since
a
I
lot
quit
of
there
Facebook
2 years ago.
users are, like, in the third world as well. I have noticed that as
My
is a
primary
stat.
demographics are Southeast Asia and Peru. Those are my top few countries for sure.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Malaysia.
South America, and then there's Germany, because the Germans
Yeah.
love Facebook for reasons which
I think
don't understand.
Philippines is the
Philippines
biggest
are my
one for
number
me.
one, I think.
Yep, by far.
huge.
And I don't
Crazy.
know when that happened, but apparently I'm huge in the Philippines, so watch out. So
You
all
will
right,
get mobbed
enough,
if you go to the Philippines.
Big in Japan?
Big in
the
Japan?
Philippines? Is that the same thing?
No,
Close,
not quite.
very close.
Sounds similar. It reminded me of it at least. All right, move on, Zyori.
Moving forward here, let's go. ESL One New York. The brackets are released. We know what the schedule's going to be. We can pull that up here. We've got Secret versus Fnatic, Fire versus CDEC, Virtus Pro versus eHome, and then EG versus Vega for the final match of day one. I don't have too many complaints about the bracket, and I don't know. How do they do the seeding for ESL One? Is it just the Dota magic where they find the matchups that make the most sense? Is it based on regional qualifiers? Do they tell you how it's set up?
I'm guessing this seeding looks like it's done based on TI results. So
Yeah.
Yep.
They also make sure that
CDC
you
got the best result. They're against Fire, which is probably the least proven team. Then Secret got the second highest result. No, sorry, VP got the second highest result. No, actually, that doesn't
EG
make
is
that
the
much sense.
First highest because they won.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Sorry.
I
So EG are first, and they face Vega. I'm guessing they did like how to explain it. They did like two different categories, two tiers, and they put Vega and Fire in the same tier. So EG faces one, CDEC faces the other one. So that's Fire and Vega versus EG and CDEC. And then there's two additional tiers. That's eHome and Fnatic, and then there's VP Secret. Although technically that doesn't make that much sense. What is it? eHome placed? eHome placed 5th, 6th, and so did VP, right?
Yeah.
They got same placement, but
it
it's a
looks
different
like-
eHome, right?
It
The
should
roster
be.
is a little. It's
gonna-
one
okay,
player
I'll
they
look it up.
switched or something, right?
Yeah, it looks like they also made effort to not have regional matchups. Like they could have
They never
very
do.
easily,
They always won.
yeah, they could have very easily done Virtus Pro versus Vega and then EG versus eHome. Well, I guess that would have been a little bit wonky. Or they
I
could
think you could have swapped VP and Secret, and that would have actually been fair. If you wanted to think from a seeding point of view, it doesn't make sense that VP and eHome meet when they're 5th, 6th, and Secret were 8th.
Yeah, but Noxville's right. They have tended to do this where you look at this. All of these are regional differences in terms of matchups. Secret and Fnatic, other sides of the world, Fire versus CDEC. So you're guaranteed to get matchups that you wouldn't ordinarily see. Certainly not online, pretty much ever. So that's pretty exciting. We don't really have to go through predictions or anything for the bracket, though. I know a lot of people always love to hear, "Oh, what do you think? Who should I bet on?" I don't know that we need to go down that road, but always interesting to see the brackets come out.
I think not to go off topic. It's not quite off
Please,
topic. But
Shannon, take us off topic. Take us
The
down
EG
this rabbit hole.
EG versus Vega is actually the series I'm looking forward to the most because first, we haven't seen. People are just assuming EG is going to be amazing, and I'm not saying they're not going to be, but I wouldn't be surprised if they get off to a slow start because they have not practiced at all, from my understanding. And it's kind of the same hole that some teams that have won TI perhaps have gotten into in the past. Newbie, of course, this is completely different scenario, but Newbie, what was it? 3 months they didn't play or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't think you can take something like that lightly. I mean, they could come out like amazing right away. I could be completely wrong, but it's something to keep in mind. So
I have
Vega, I
this-
think, might be able to put up a decent fight.
I have this feeling that EG is not going to become complacent in a similar way to previous TI champions. They've switched their roster. I think they're the only TI champion that actually made roster changes afterwards, which to me shows that they're looking to renew themselves and keep the competitive drive going. And the player who joined the team, of course, Arteezy, is going to be pretty pissed if he joins a team of people that just sit back and don't practice. Like,
Well, I'm not saying
I have a feeling
yeah,
they are actually going to be prepared for this.
That's
Navi
why I
made
said it's not,
roster
it's not a
changes.
direct comparison because Newbie got complacent. EG, I'm not saying they've been complacent. They just haven't done anything yet.
It's
Oh,
also
they get-
different culturally. I mean, like the thing with Newbie is I think they spend most of that time doing like promotional work and making money in other arenas outside of just playing the game, playing MMOs and doing all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't think EG has been
Jeez.
spending all this time like taking marketing dollars for playing shitty games, you know?
They just do it for free, basically.
Sind, Navi made a roster change because Artstyle didn't want to pay them.
That's true. Yeah.
Wait,
That
how
was
long?
that's a little different though. That was like forced, right?
What's
that
your
was like a forced
criteria
roster
though,
change.
Cinder, for not change? Like Newbie technically changed roster like 6 months later, right? You're talking about directly after the tournament?
Oh yeah, I'm saying EG basically won and then they changed roster like
Yeah.
what was that, 2 weeks after? I don't think
No.
Not even.
Basically right away.
yeah.
As quickly as
So-
they could have.
Like they knew what they wanted and they wanted something new. So
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how CDEC performs. I think they're very strong favorites over Fire, almost no doubt. But they're another team that I haven't seen them. I mean, to be fair, I haven't been watching much
Unplayed.
Chinese Dota in general. But yeah, so I'm curious if they were just on a heater or if they really are still going to be like a top 2 team in the world coming into this tournament. I mean, Secret versus CDEC in the semifinals could be a really interesting matchup.
was gonna take that.
Yes.
Yes, I concur.
Why? Like,
Why
I
is
don't-
it a good matchup?
No. What I'm saying is like, why should CDEC stay as dominant as they were? Because a lot of the incredible plays from CDEC were off the back of Goddard, and of course aggressive. And Phantom Lancer got nerfed quite a bit, Gyro as well. I don't know if this is really gonna be as good of a meta as the TI meta was for CDEC. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
that's exactly what I'm curious about. What were they on the heater based on that current time in the meta and their skill set and the heroes they liked, or are they going to be able to adapt and still be strong post-patch?
I think their coordination as a team was sick, and that's why they got so far. You don't get to the finals without having ridiculous teamwork and coordination in a tournament like that. Like even if your individual players are extremely talented on strong heroes in the patch, you don't even get top 8 if your teamwork doesn't work very well. So I think, to me, I don't think the patch is going to hit CDEC harder than it's going to hit other teams. The question is if they'll get figured out faster. I think they hit a sweet spot at TI where teams didn't adapt to them fast enough until the finals, and then they got figured out. Kind of similar to if you look at TI3, where Alliance didn't really lose anything until the grand finals when Navi had them figured out, and actually, in my opinion, should have won TI3 Navi. They lost that 5th game.
But there's
after.
also
It looked
something
really
to keep
good,
in
right?
mind where if
So-
you lose, you kind of have the advantage of you can fix your mistakes. Where
Yeah.
CDEC, they lost one series and they lost the whole TI, as opposed to EG, who lost beforehand and had the chance to come back, play the
Yeah.
exact same opponent again, and change what they needed.
That's true. I think
a good point.
CDC are gonna. I don't see any reason to not believe they're gonna be really really good based on what we've seen. Because have they played an official match since TI?
No.
Then until I see them, I'm gonna expect them to be a top competitor, like a contender.
Okay.
For
Would you
top
be
3 in
more
this
Would you be more surprised by Fire beating CDEC or Vega beating EG? Because I mean, the obvious thing would be to say obviously Vega beating EG, but I mean Vega just
No.
didn't make it into TI because they lost to a team that came second in top 8.
It's best of 3, right?
Yes.
I think the bigger surprise would be Fire beating CDC because I think Vega are actually really good, and
Yeah.
Fire have had really mixed results and haven't impressed me as much as Vega have. They
Completely agree.
The
Vega
NA
won a
region is
way more
so
stacked
interesting.
qualifier.
Yeah, I would agree.
So
I mean,
Yeah,
the way
and-
it works right now in the NA scene, it's not 100% obviously, but Fire beats C9, C9 beats DC, DC beats Fire. Of course, there's some discrepancies here and there. It's like, it's all about matchups and on any given Sunday kind of deal, where I think that CDEC will probably do pretty well against Fire, is my guess. But
Yeah,
Fire's
and
kind of a wild card still.
For me, Vega is one of those teams I would absolutely not want to play against in a single elim tournament because they are like, they play this classic CIS style of super aggressive. Sometimes they make aggressive plays that you would think on paper don't quite make sense, but they're really good at taking teams out of their comfort zone. I think they might be a little bit one-dimensional in that sense, and in like a double elimination tournament, they may win an early round, and then EG, an adaptive team that can come back and figure them out. But first round, I think Vega is like the prime candidate for potential upsets in a format like this.
Did they change rosters?
Vega?
Yeah, I'm thinking like
I have to look it up. I don't think so. Or it might have just been one player. Let's see.
We have
They've
Soma,
got
Solo,
Pasha,
Man-
Back
no
solo
one.
Sema.
Yeah, it's the same lineup.
All right, that's interesting.
They've looked pretty good the little bit I've seen them in the post-TI era. So that should be a really good match to close out day one. ESL. That'll be exciting.
And we get to see the Fnatic versus Team Secret rivalry continue.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, Mushi versus Secret is like a small storyline.
1 versus
Yeah.
5.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget that. Was it the last Star Ladder, the one in Bucharest, where Secret was
Yeah.
eliminated by Fnatic? Yeah, that was quite the upset. I remember that quite well.
And Secret got their revenge in ESL Frankfurt 2015.
All right, the grudge
and
match
how they
continues.
had everyone
The little
like
bit
Techies.
of Fnatic I've seen in 1 or 2 games I just caught, I was not that impressed. Like, they looked good, but it was against teams that were not on their level. And when it came to teams that were comparable to them, I don't feel like they looked very dominant. I think they're a pretty clear underdog against Secret at this point. That's my opinion anyway. Curious to
Yep.
see. It would be cool if they surprised, though. I think SEA needs a team to look up to right now, and they're kind of the only candidate right now that I see.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, pressing forward here, of course, ESL One will be coming up very soon. It starts on October 3rd in the Madison Square Garden Theater. It is next weekend. We are a week away from ESL One. My golly, good gracious. So, another exciting news tournament related. The first major has been officially announced. Sound the alarms here. It will be in Germany, so I'm sure pimpmuckL read that and went, fucking yeah, man, my backyard. This is my home. We're going to be drinking beers on the subway to the tournament.
Oh, you all can come to my house, no problem, guys. We're gonna have a nice party. That's for sure.
All right.
Everyone's
Wait,
gonna
where
come.
do you live in Frankfurt?
No, I live in Aachen.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
1.5 hours away. Still, that's literally
that's-
nothing in the Dota world, right?
Oh, that's absolutely nothing. That's really good. Then we can pendle every day. And we just start out with some morning beers at your place, and then we go to the event. Then yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
Yeah,
Cast
sure,
drunk.
let's go.
That's good, syndereN. That's
Yeah,
good.
that's
idea.
my work ethic right there.
Also, tickets are so cheap. And
I'd love you to
can go
cast
for
in
free.
your baby voice.
Damn.
To be honest, I wouldn't mind.
You want to hear that?
Can we not?
I think I could go for like 2 minutes, and then I'm done.
I'm
No,
gonna
you
call
need
the
to be.
police.
That's
You
super
need to be the main cast. So the shoutcaster is you, and any team fight, if you get like you stumble on your words, you just start with the baby voice, and people will find it hilarious. They'll forget that you're missing the fight. That's what I want to see.
Distract them with the baby rage. I like it. But yeah, pimpmuckL brought up a great point. That was one of the first things I noticed after the $3 million prize pool for this tournament, which is quite exciting. There will be a compendium that was included in the post, but it wasn't clear whether or not there would be crowdfunding. I imagine there will be,
I don't think so.
but I'm not sure
don't
exactly.
think
It didn't say in there.
3
So
million.
it-
That's flat.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
It didn't specify exactly, but the way they implied it is that it is not crowdfunded, which I think is great, actually. Believe it or not. It's great for
I'm
third-party
perfectly
tournaments.
okay with it. I mean, I think I wouldn't say the community is burned out of. Wow, the EU Major looks awesome. The black screen. I wouldn't say our audience is burned out of crowdfunding and opening up their wallets for Dota, but I think that's something that the audience could get burned out of. And I like the idea of having majors with huge prize pools that don't need to be funded by the community. And then when you have TI, you can go ham, get your hundreds of immortals, and still have a really big blockbuster tournament. I think it creates a nice balance in the scene rather than trying to maximize every event and push out so many cosmetics. I think it also helps to slow the roll in terms of too many particles being in the game too quickly, which after seeing all of the added effects after this TI was a little bit of a concern for me, if I'm being totally honest.
What I don't quite understand is what the fall compendium is gonna like provide you. Because if there is no like crowdfunding for the major, then it's gonna be hats, and more hats. Because how else would you like make to try to appeal to everyone
well,
buying
there's
it?
definitely going to be hats in the compendium. It's just the money is going
Obviously.
to go to Valve and not. No, it's going to go to Valve and the artists because the artists are the ones going to be making the sets this time around. So that's
Oh.
I think the major difference. From my understanding,
Is
they're
that
taking-
confirmed, or is that what you're guessing?
It's confirmed because they were asking people, or they were saying this is I forget what the date was, sometime in early September. This date, all your sets need to be submitted, no particles, because we will be adding the particles for you
Okay.
for the major. So part of it will go to the artists and Valve, and then nothing to the pool, which I think is fine because, like you said, it ends up watering things down for like third-party tournaments in the long run.
Okay. Can you guys still hear me? I bumped my Ethernet cable by
Great.
accident.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, perfect. Whew,
Why didn't
recovered.
you all just ignore him then? Come on.
Guys, I'm so easy. Yeah, so very exciting though, and it's only $50 or €50 rather. My God, oh boy, that's incredibly cheap, especially compared to like TI. That's
Well,
I feel
it's
like
only
that
for
is
1 day, right?
Is that per? Oh, it's only
No,
€50
it's
per
1
day.
day. You don't pay
Everything's
for
free
any
except the
day
final.
except for the final day. So you can go there from what is it like Monday to Friday or some shit? Let's see.
And it's completely free.
it's
You
completely
just
free.
show up. You just
Yes.
wait in line and say, "Hey guys,
go.
all right, I'm here." That's incredible.
That's
I
pretty
I
think-
misread it. Oh my God.
I think the main idea behind it, so they haven't said why they do what they do with this, with the financing of that. I think the idea is that, first of all, they want to eliminate empty seats. I think that's been one of the issues at TI, which is not because people aren't interested, but just because you can't sell for an event that has that duration. It's very difficult to fill the stadium with everyone the whole time because people will show up for specific matches or can only come on 2 days out of TI, not all 6, or so. If you looked at the audience shots from TI 5, which was still ridiculous, like it was a fucking huge tournament, right? The audience was never filled until, apart from I think the finals day and a little bit else, and it was not even 100% filled then. I think they just want to make sure they fill out the seats nicely. It's a good way of advertising the game too. You can just come in and have a look, right? And then for the really hardcore fans that want something and want to pay for it, they can drop a 50 to make sure they get a seat at the finals day, and then the rest is first come first serve. I think that's pretty cool. Like that's
a
good
really
concept.
good point. That if you're let's say you have some friends that play League or Smite or any other game, and you're like, no, Dota's cool, come check it out, and they can just come for free and tag along for one day and see if they like it. That is a really cool dynamic that I hadn't quite thought of.
It's also a little bit annoying if you're traveling from pretty far.
Yes,
Like you're going there,
that
you
is
don't
true.
know whether you're going to be able to watch. And also, it's like a bit of game theory. Like, you don't know how many people are going to go, so you don't want to risk going because everyone else might go, and in the end, no one goes.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the downside. I think from Valve's perspective, though, they want to. I think it's also an experiment, right? It's the first major, so let's see how things work out. They have an idea of something alternative, and perhaps the response of the community is, it really sucks that I can't go and can't be guaranteed to go. But at the same time, I think if you're a really big fan and you travel far, you're willing to get up early in the morning to be there in the front of the queue, right? I think if you travel across the world, you will gladly stand an extra hour in front of the door each morning to make sure you get in, because then you're already such a hardcore fan to travel across the world in the first place. I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem. The group that's going to be hit the hardest, if you will, is the one that actually lives close, so it's not that big of a commitment for them, but they would still like to go there every day, and maybe they can't make it necessarily. I guess we're going to get some stories when it's over.
I'm not
what
sure,
happens,
like, could
so.
you have been sold, wait, okay, English is so hard sometimes, you know. Maybe you just sell a ticket for like $10 or something, so you have like VIP quote-unquote access, so you can go in before the general public who doesn't pay, maybe, like, for something cheap. That's something I was kind of shocked not to see, actually, because imagine, like, you pay 10
Yeah.
euros or something for the whole day, just so you're confirmed that you're there. That's cool for a lot of people, so you don't actually wait in the line. I don't know.
It's a cool experiment. I think that's I mean, this is classic Valve. That's what they love to do. Their whole business model is based around putting something out there, gauging the reaction, collecting some data, and then creating iterations that improve upon the last one. And I think this is a really cool way to go about it. And even if it ends up kind of backfiring, or there are too many people that show up and they have to turn people away because there aren't enough seats, or, you know, like you said, some of the locals are upset because they can't attend, I think this is absolutely a worthy experiment to have, and it just bodes well for the game to say, hey, our first major, guess what? It's free for most of the days for you to attend. Just show up, and as long as there's room, you can sit down and enjoy some dotes. That's pretty cool. All right,
Dotes.
well, did you have
Sorry.
more, Sind? Were you going to
No,
concur?
I
I
just
thought he was
like
going to do the baby
doubts.
cry.
Why?
Please don't. Please don't.
It needs to
I'm
be
really
the right
reliant on it. I think we should use that as the transition to each subject, or a segue, if you will. The baby.
All right.
Can,
The
can
baby
that,
rage
like,
as a
be,
subject?
Can,
Oh god.
can it be the
Can we make a
breaker
video?
of all our productions?
Wait. Look, I have this video when we switch scenes, right? Like, I'm gonna show stream right now, like this one. We need this with a baby rage. That'd be
Yep,
the
that's the breaker.
bomb. I love it. Let's do it.
That is the best idea ever, if you got it while you were super drunk. Else it is not the best idea.
What? There you come on.
Oh, fair enough. So, all right, let's move into the meat and potatoes of this podcast here. Patch 6.85, the highly anticipated patch that takes down the dirty Storm, Lesh, Lena, Bloodseeker pickers that are destroying all of our pub games. We aren't going to go through the patch analysis here and talk about each line. There have been plenty of videos made for that already. We're going to go over some of the big changes, some of the things that each of us kind of liked, didn't like, and just initial reactions, and then try to make this a more anecdotal experience about our recent pub games and kind of what we've already been seeing in the competitive scene. As Dream League's going to be kicked off this week. We've got ESL right around the corner, so quite a bit of stuff to talk about. So first, let's start with the basic mechanics changes. Siege creeps, targetable by spells. This one has cooked my noodle. They have a lot of spell resistance, but it's so hard to get used to. It has baked my fucking noodle, man. I'm like, oh, Pudge can't hook me? Oh, okay. No, wait, other way around. He's going to hook me, and then he gets a siege creep.
It happened to me today, actually.
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
And
Takes
also
some getting
Purge. Purge can't. He can't kill the golems. You know, it's tough. No longer doing different damage or extra damage to summons. That's another mechanic that it's like that has been there since the Warcraft 3 days. I read that and just go, oh, it's just so different. Both of these changes are going to take me a while to get used to.
Yeah, they're on right now.
I need to up the chat. Sorry. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, look.
Oh, it's monkey.
He's not happy right now.
What the fuck am I doing here?
Okay. Go ahead. Oh my goodness. It's just what the duck. You like ducks? That's good.
All right, enough of the cats. No.
Yep.
All
we're
right,
good.
that's a really good-looking cat you got there, Shannon. Well done.
My pussy is so
Shut
good.
down.
Got him.
So a couple of mechanics changes here. Big hero changes though. One of the bigger ones, the Bat Rider Aghanims change. Has anybody actually
played it.
experimented with this in game? I have not played
Okay.
against or as a Bat Rider since this change has come
So,
out.
I mean, obviously, Admiral Bulldog is saying it's garbage, and I do gotta say it was not fun when I played it. However, I can see it working if you actually get the dump on the supports, because if you like get 2 cores with you, because they're hitting the towers, that's not gonna work, because they're gonna just destroy you. It's not fun. Like you wanna single out one guy, burst him down, maybe the 1 position, maybe the 2 position, whatever. Fine. If you have this eggs, you suddenly pull someone with you, and it's all gonna come down to shits. That was not fun. However, it would be incredibly fun if you get the supports. Problem is in pro games, positioning is so good with most teams. How are you ever gonna get 2 supports? I don't
Well,
see.
okay, this is the way that I look at it, and I'm interested to see if syndereN, since we didn't get to do patch analysis with people, which people were really angry about and very confused with. Apparently, we're
Their
breaking
fault.
up syndereN.
Yeah.
So my
Love you
thoughts
too.
on the Bat Rider Ags is, first of all, it's really good. So I completely disagree with Admiral Bulldog. The reason I think it's good is because a lot of, like, as a Bat Rider, you get Blink, Boots of Travel, Force Staff, and everything past that is luxury. Aghanim
Mask of
Scepter is
Madness.
actually an item. Like Mask of Madness Yules is all luxury. You could
EOTs, dude.
easily get an Aghanim Scepter. And I think that the latching onto the second person is just like, it's a plus. You don't have to do it. In
It
some
also does
situations,
add
it's probably
damage.
bad.
Adds
Yeah, that's
damage
what I was
to the
going to
lasso
say.
as well.
The adding of damage is probably the bigger deal and the more
It-
consistent
yeah,
one.
That's true.
I think it's really good.
The damage is
I
actually
think
pretty cool.
specific. It's like if you want to get Ags on that hero, depends on the rest of your lineup. I think. I don't think it's centered around Bat Rider as much as it's centered around having heroes that synergize well with catching too. Like let's say you have Witch Doctor or you have a Faceless Void. Who knows if he comes back? I doubt it, but let's say he does, right?
That'd be great.
If you pull 2 heroes into a position where they're both exposed and you have great follow-up, that's, in my book, just flat out better than pulling out one. I don't see how that's worse. If the one extra hero you get is not desired and you don't have what it takes to kill him, sure, but then you just don't get it. Like, it's just it's an additional tool that you can get in games where it makes sense, right? And in addition to that, something that hasn't been talked about, it deals damage too. When you get Ags, the lasso targets take 300 damage each. That's also not negligible. It's 400 before reduction, by the way. It's 100 damage per second, 4 seconds magical damage, so 300
It
total,
stacks
right?
with
And it's
normal.
not including like sticky napalm
Yeah.
stacks
And that's
all that crap.
yes, exactly. That's even without sticky napalm bonus. So you know, it's I think it's pretty good, and I'm with Shannon on the whole fact that it's a lot of the time when you look at other heroes and you're like, is Ags good? You're like, what do I get it instead of? And on Bat Rider, you're always like, oh, what should I get next? I already have my Force Staff. So
Right.
All right.
and the other thing, so correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a refresher on Bat Rider before this patch, you can lasso 2 targets at the same time, right?
I believe so.
Now you can
Yeah,
get
but-
4. Okay, that's very unlikely. Let's move on. But you know, it will look cool.
Wait, you
is,
can
is LC still your
Hold on.
least favorite Ags, syndereN?
Yes, it's the worst in the game.
can't you
Well,
just
and that one
refresh
is
and blink
just
again?
no duration, right? That's all the LC
If you-
Ags does.
If you blink with people snared,
you-
you lose them.
Yeah, but you can blink a certain range, right?
Yeah,
Ah,
it ha-
No,
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
if you
No, I
blink
don't think
at
you
all,
can.
You can't at all.
I don't think you can blink.
Okay,
at
but
all.
then you can
You can
still
force staff though.
get 2 people force stuff, refresh, ult again, force stuff out. You have 4 people easy. Problem
Wait,
is,
what
I mean, it's
happens-
gonna happen in a pub
What happens
game
with
at some
LC
point.
Ags? What happens with LC Ags and you get nightmared?
It goes on forever. They keep
Like-
sleeping each other.
It's just an endless loop, right?
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
What do you think about an LC Ags where if you're successful in killing somebody with duel, it just refreshes duel right back?
That sounds like it could be broken, but it would be certainly much better than the current Ags upgrade.
That's like one of those items where if you're ahead in the game, you're gonna stay ahead in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be a cooler change than the current one. The current one is I get what they're trying to like. It fits the whole idea of the spell, like the whole concept. It's a duel to the death, right? So no one can escape. But essentially, it's a shit item on Legion. You pay 4,200 gold to have a chance of winning a duel that you'd usually win anyway. The whole purpose of the skill is to burst someone. And for 4200, you could get way better stats.
All right,
You
so
could
the
get
way that I
almost a
look at
heart
this,
for
so I have a
example,
little
so.
bit different perspective than you. So the way I look at if an Ags is good or not is if Alchemist buys me an Ags, is it actually useful or detrimental? For Legion Commander, it's fine. For Weaver, it is actually not fine because then you have to not only click your ult, but click yourself afterwards in order to do something that you just instantly want to do.
Can't you double-click
Weaver-
it then? Double-click
Yeah,
to
but
self-cast?
It's not nearly as fast as just clicking it.
Weaver X is
Oh,
amazing, though.
wow.
Like,
I mean, that's such
It's
a
really
minor,
cool.
like, fuck you, Alchemist, don't farm me an Ags, now I've got a double tap. Like, if
Hey,
you're
I'm just saying,
that, you've got bigger problems.
It's technically a detriment in some cases, right?
all right, guys.
Can't you
come
like
on,
quick cast it then?
Go on.
So?
Oh, speaking of quick cuts, what do you guys think of the health salve and stuff? Have you guys screwed that up
Oh
yet?
god.
I
that's-
fucked
Oh, I
that
did
up
it today.
Yeah,
I salved myself at
ruined
almost
that.
full health. It was great. But
That one is going to
Oh.
take a while to get used to.
Do they need
As
to
the
add
patch-
like an option or something?
it's the same as with the wards, right? They didn't add an option for that either. People are going to complain, and then in a week they'll be used to it. And if they aren't, it makes for some funny situations, and you'll learn from your mistakes. I think it's perfectly fine that it's changed. It just sucks for 3 games, and then you're over it. That's my opinion.
I agree, but it has definitely cost me a couple of
Yeah.
clarities and healing salves.
It does for
On-
the enemy team too, right? It balances out. So.
Yeah, there you go. Well, on the topic of Aghanim's upgrades, one of the more interesting changes this patch, Mr. Undying. He had a couple of other changes as well. Tombstone, no longer HP-based, now charge-based. I have been playing a lot of Undying, and man, I am not enjoying it. The Ags upgrade, giving you 10 strength instead of 4. It's incredible if you can get an Aghanims, but I've been struggling to get an Aghanims at a point where it makes any kind of difference
What?
on that hero.
Get good.
Yeah.
That hurts, man. That really hurts.
I've played a couple of Undying games. I got it twice. One of the games, I think I got it at minute 14 or 15, and then you are a walking god. In my opinion, Undying has been completely changed. I think if you don't get Ags on the hero, he's way worse than before. If you do, he's way better. So it's like, it's more farm intensive. The whole support Undying, I think, is weaker now, because Tombstone, let's be real here, Tombstone level 1 and 2
Garbage.
is shit.
It
It's
is
really,
complete shit.
I think
really
it's shit
bad.
throughout the entire game, just based on the fact that
Well,
illusions
it's-
kill it. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think that's going to get changed, though. I think it's going to be... It's probably going to end up getting the same targeting rules as Supernova has, so you have to attack it with an actual hero attack. That's my guess, is that
It should be changed
it's going to get
that
fixed
way.
that way.
'Cause
But
it's
even
just
then,
useless now.
then Tombstone will, in a lot of games, be better post-minute 45 than it was until now, but in all other contexts, it'll be way worse. Now, the thing I did in my Undying games was that, okay, instead of relying on Tombstone, I maxed Decay and Soul Rip, and I just burst in lane. And if I don't find kills, I just farm. But you need to play it as a farmer, and you need to get Ags first. When
Oh,
you
well,
get
that's what I'm doing
that
wrong.
is
Which
I play him
it's
exclusively as a fighter.
absurdly good.
I say, hey team, fuck the creeps, I'm going for the heroes. Let's do this.
Would you
That's
consider
actually-
playing him like Ancient Apparition, Synth? You know, like Animatus and Ags, and just play passive?
I think it takes too long.
Like-
The thing about AA Ags is that it's good when you get it minute 30. Undying Ags has like Andrew said, if you get it too late, it just feels like it
what
doesn't have
time?
that big
Okay,
of
so
an
what
impact.
time is too late now?
25 minutes-ish.
That's
is
one
a-
of those things you generally
good
can't say in
ballpark.
Dota. Like, it
Okay,
totally
okay.
depends what you're up against and what you're with. I would say, though, the thing about this that's really interesting for me is that I think some teams might start building a pocket strategy where you play Undying mid or Undying safe lane and you rush this. I think it's godlike for pushing strats. Like, it sounds weird, but Undying without Tombstone with an Axe might be way better for pushing than the old Undying with Tombstone. Because if anyone on your team can go and hit the tower, if the enemy tries to respond, if you hit Decay on 2 or 3 targets, your Undying is unkillable almost. Like, it's absurd. A quick bit of math. Okay, so this is the last thing I'll say on it. I know I'm rambling, but I think this might be the biggest thing in the patch out of any for a single hero. Like, the biggest buff. So this ability, when you have Axe, is basically an AoE brain sap on a 4-second cooldown. You deal 140 magical damage plus 190 pure, and you heal yourself 190, even if you're full health. So, the very unlikely situation that you hit all 5 heroes with a decay, you steal 950 health to yourself, and you deal about 1500 damage. 4-second cooldown. Now, of course, you don't hit 5 heroes every time, but in teamfights, it's very likely you can hit 2 or 3 a couple of times. Then your Undying suddenly has 3000 health minute. I'm not kidding, minute 20 or 25. You just walk around with that.
It works.
How do you kill that? Like,
That's pretty absurd. That is... Alright.
it
I
is,
need to try
it is
this no
really
Tombstone
sick,
build.
and I want to see it played because, I mean, I'm basing it off pub experience. A lot of the times, pub experience can't be transferred to competitive. If you see it in competitive, the guy gets shut down. But I think right now, a lot of the mid lane matchups, Undying will be able to farm. Like, you won't shut him down entirely. And maybe safe lane. I don't know. I'm curious to see if teams do it.
syndereN,
I
how
feel
about
like
a
it
duo
could be
offlane? You run Undying with someone else being super H.
Absolutely.
I don't know, like Viper.
Absolutely. Yes, and then Undying farms. But I wouldn't pick Viper. Then.
Oh,
But, you know, classic
okay.
dual lane,
So you
Undying
still
off
want
lanes
him
could definitely work.
in a full-on farming position?
I think support, like the raw support Undying that maxes Tombstone is shit now compared to before. So I
mean,
want it
like,
in a farming role, yes.
Something we saw like last patch when there was like two quote-unquote not really farmers, but like 3.5 positions in the offlane. They would just like split farm. Everyone was like quote-unquote farmed. Because this is something where I can see him just completely taking over games. But then again, I wonder if it's better to have like the super aggro try or like the super aggro dual lane because you pretty much always win the lane, or if you just want to have a mid.
I still can't. I haven't tried it, so it's 100% theory crafting. The only thing I've tried is the standard offlane solo or offlane duo, and if you have a good time, you can take over games.
Yeah, I saw it.
If you play 3.5, I'm not so sure. And if you played mid, again, it's just an idea. Like, it might be shit. I don't know. My hunch is that it could be really good. But
I was watching a friend play Undying plus Skywrath in the offlane, and it was out of control. In like 20 minutes, it was. Yeah.
That's a really strong lane, actually.
Wow. I always think of Undying as Jakiro as the really cancerous dual off lane.
That's pretty cancerous too.
Someone in chat is saying Alchemist plus Undying in the same team. Then you can just give him the Ags.
Damn.
Oh shit.
Right.
That's actually not a bad idea.
That's pretty cool too.
The mid
I like that.
I don't know. That's extra theory crafty though. Then you're relying on your position 1 to give you the item, but
yeah, that's pretty good.
I hope I get to see it. My initial feeling is that it might be broken. It could just be a fad right now, and that it fades out when people learn to counter it better.
Yeah, so there's a few other big changes I want to make note of here. The first of which, fucking Techies nerf. Thank the Lord. I really like these Techies changes. I'm sure Slacks is crying to himself in a corner. No more maximum on the landmines. They do half damage, but the cooldown is halved as well to compensate for it. But the biggest change is now Techies mines do not do damage when they're killed by the opposition. So if you put down a sentry ward and you take him out, you don't have to worry about that dipshit melee hero blinking in and accidentally killing himself. I love it. I'm so tired of playing against Techies, and his win rate in pub games has it's been kind of in the dumper. I think it's down like 6%, something like that. Numbers that made me happy.
You know, usually when a hero is hated or the community's asking for nerfs, Ice Frog just changes something that they're not complaining about the hero that ends up balancing out. I feel like they just shit all over this. There are so many changes with Techies, and I kind of agree with you. It's nice to see. I mean, I think he's still viable, but just not
5%.
Nearly as annoying. That's for sure.
I read an anecdote about someone playing Ricky with a gem and a quelling blade, and then he just ran around behind the enemy Techies and kept quelling his mines. That sounds like fucking fun.
But then you have a Ricky that's the same level as the Techies.
Then the game is 4-on-4, and you're playing Minesweeper with a Ricky. I think that's funny.
There was a Shadow Fiend today who bought a quelling blade level 1 and was denying his own teammates Techies mines to give him souls.
Yeah, that's cool. Too. That's like the good old place plague wards in Roche Pit. Get Roche to hit them once and then deny them with SF play. On a serious note, I think because we don't see Venno, I guess he's just not a good pick right now.
I thought they got rid of that.
It might also have been removed actually. That's I think it might get patched out. Yeah.
Okay.
But
fair enough.
From a competitive standpoint, I think I don't want to say Techies is dead, but I think he is almost dead right now. And I personally don't mind. He was the hero I enjoyed watching the least, probably. I know I might be a minority, but
it's well documented, believe me.
I think he was more detrimental to the flow of the game than he was entertaining to watch. And from a very casual standpoint, it's of course, it can be very fun in games in pubs to just mess around with Techies and have a good time, etc. But from a competitive standpoint, I feel like he just limited one team to forcing them into playing something that I felt like wasn't the core of Dota. So that's what I had against it.
Yeah, I feel like when they first added Techies to Captain's mode, I was like, oh my god, we're going to see Techies? I wonder what's going to happen? Okay, that was a little bit disappointing, but cool, awesome. You see it again, and every time it's just a little bit less exciting, and after about 5 times, I was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. All right, well, incoming snoozer.
Well, it's I think the issue with there's many issues with it here, but one of the issues I had with the way it was played in some ways, like AUI played it on EG, basically got no kills. They won just because the hero is in the game. Just the fact that he's in the game makes the other team play completely differently. and they lose as a result. It was literally 5-on-4, and they still won.
Jesus,
Don't run
the
around
hate.
in the jungle.
Damn.
It's
The
the
hate is
mental
real.
game.
So
I
a
had
couple of
fun
other.
in Frankfurt. I don't know. All right.
All right, fair enough. So a couple of other smaller changes. One that I think is interesting, and the other I'm curious to get your thoughts about. Lifestealer can now infest Ancients. We saw Loda do this in a pro game already. Hop inside of one of those giant, big fatty golems there and just start punching creeps. That's an interesting strategy. I don't really know if it's that good, but it does ensure that the Lifestealer gets to farm in lane pretty easily for that little window. You've got like a 2,000 HP golem that's immune to spells. How the hell are you killing that thing?
I have a funny anecdote on that from yesterday. I was playing, or I don't know how funny the anecdote is, but it was a funny situation. I was playing Darkseer, and I had a Lifestealer who did that. He infested a dragon, and I would just put Ion Shell on him and surge him in, and that dragon would just fly around after people, and they would just die, because they couldn't fight it, right? It's magic immune, it's a big black dragon running at you at max move speed with an Ion Shell, and like...
Big black dragon.
I thought that was it made for a really, that was one of the funniest experiences I've had in a pub game in a long time. I was laughing my ass off, and someone in
Was it the
chat I
baby
think was
baby
saying
rage laugh?
Radiance Lifestealer is new meta. Imagine if you put Radiance on him and shell him. I think it's still gimmicky, but it's funny. As far as the actual importance in competitive, I think, what is it? When you infest neutrals, you also get health when you pop out, right? Or because I remember there was some sort of weird thing where if you infested your own creeps, you don't get healed, but if you infest anything that's not your own, you do, or something like that. I don't know if that's how it still works. It definitely did at some point.
I remember I was kind of confused by that way back in the day, and it was based on level, actually, of Infest. I don't know if it's been changed. I have no freaking clue. I think it's kind of gimmicky as well. And the thing I don't like about, I mean, I think it's fun to watch for a certain amount of time, and I'm sure you can get sick of anything after a certain point. But I think the major problem I have with it is that the hero is just like, they're making him into something, like, he's supposed to be a carry. He's not a very good one. He's basically anti-strength. And you're making him into like this gimmicky, like even before the infesting and controlling creeps, just using him as like a bomb, right? Like a Lifestealer bomb.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like they need the hero to have a better identity, just a more solid identity. Like, I brought this up with AUI in my patch notes. Who else played Han other than Zyori? Anybody? Do you remember Parasite?
Yeah, I remember that shit hero.
So Parasite was cool because he had an identity. He was the guy that was in the jungle, takes over creeps, buffs the creeps, ganks lanes. Lifestealer is like half of that they kind of want them to do, and then half just as a carry. And I feel like they just need to pick one. I don't know. I don't like the whole hybrid going on here with Lifestealer.
That is true. I do like the point that you make about Parasite having an identity. Like his job was to dominate the early game and secure your lanes. What I hated about Parasite was that it was the most one-dimensional hero imaginable. His ultimate was, all right, I did some damage and jumped on you with a little bit of a silence. I've got a big bursty damage, and now I'm going to buy a Dagon and do more burst damage, and then I have this passive that just makes me do a little more damage. You just hit 3 buttons, blow somebody up, hope you have enough damage to kill them, then fuck off into the jungle. What a dumb concept for a hero.
Whoa, man.
I thought it was cool.
Wow.
That game had a lot of heroes that ganked at level
Syndra,
6 from mid and did a huge burst damage, like Deadwood. Tiny was played that way. Chipper.
Deadwood.
That's what I miss. That's the one thing I miss that's not quite in Dota right now, is that easy heroes to gank with at level 6 that do burst damage that aren't named Lina.
Chipper was a really cool
Lion.
hero.
Lion is really freaking
Lion
good.
mid.
I've been saying that for so long.
Who's in?
Lion is legit.
I just want to see him core, not this dumb support shit.
Yeah.
UX line, huh? You know.
The thing is, Lifestealer got like 2 minor buffs, Rage, cooldown, Infest, but he was already being picked by some Chinese teams, like during 6.84. So, do you think we're going to return to the Death Ball? Maybe he's a very, very strong hero in a 5-man lineup. Built in
It's
BKB.
possible.
I don't know if I would like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Lifestealer is a little bit stronger than he gets credit for, but he just needs so much space early on. If he falls behind, he just doesn't provide enough. But I want to ask you guys about old Ogs McGee here. He's got an interesting buff now, or he can buff towers with the Bloodlust. This is another one of these gimmicky kind of, this is cool, but I don't know that it really makes a difference. He also got an armor buff, which I frankly don't understand. He already had so much goddamn armor to begin with. I played against an Ogre yesterday. Level 3, he's got 9 armor. I'm poking him with Lifestealer, and he's just laughing at me. He's just throwing jelly rolls.
And not too long ago, they added the whole 2.5 HP regen, if I'm not mistaken. It's like,
yeah.
like, please play him off lane, please. anybody that you do that to, it's like please play him offlane. Night Stalker this time around as well with the regen.
I think it's a good way to distinguish, or how to put it, to enable melee supports to be useful.
Okay.
I think it's the one downside that melee supports have, surprise, compared to ranged supports, is that they're not ranged. And if you look at Ogre's abilities, Ignite and Fire Blast, they're not overwhelmingly good compared to, say, Crystal Maiden's abilities, right? Or Lion's. So
Yeah.
he needs something to make up for it, and making him tankier, like Shannon said, it puts him in more of an offlane position, but it also enables him to be a useful support. If you imagine Ogre with 3 less armor, he's a pretty weak support. Like you actually can't engage into fights and expect to tank. But now you can. It's a very well, you also could last patch, but now you can do it even better, right? It's more on the whole identity topic. This is Ogre's identity. He's a beefy support that can go in first, and this just furthers that position. So I'm cool with it. I think it's fine.
I don't think he's broken, but he is really tanky now. I mean, I think we may see some Ogre picks come up. Is the Bloodlust buff at all? Do you think this will make a difference, Sin, now that he can put it on towers?
It's cute, but in a way it's drafting to lose, right? If you're drafting something that's good at making your tower strong, you could say, well, why do you pick Treant then if it's for the living armor? But I think there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a different perspective, because
Couldn't he buff catapults before this? I could have sworn that he could. I'm
Yeah,
almost
he
positive
could. Okay,
he
so
could.
how it worked was you could directly buff them, but the multicast couldn't jump to them. Now it can.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now, okay.
This is, I think this is the, yeah. This is like in the small question mark thing on the official patch notes. Could already target them directly, but it's now fixed.
Gotcha.
I
Okay,
don't,
that makes sense.
Yeah, the Bloodlust on towers, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think it's cool and it's funny, but I doubt it's going to be something you pick the hero for, because, yeah, as I was saying, it's basically, if you draft Ogre for that reason, you're like, oh shit, our towers are going to be pushed early, we need to make them strong. Wouldn't you rather get some wave clear instead then?
Yeah.
It's just an extra benefit and some extra flavor, which I always like in a patch. Like, you just make heroes more fun to play because they have more flexibility. So it's cool, and sometimes it'll help, but you will not draft it for.
Yeah. So a lot of the big boys were nerfed. Bloodseeker, Lina, Lesh, Storm, all these heroes. Not changed drastically, basically just some of their numbers lessened in terms of base damage, a little bit of less damage here and there. I don't want to go through them individually, but I just want to ask kind of the overall question. Was it enough? Do you guys feel like the big heroes that were taking over the game in the last patch, was this enough of a balance to really bring Lesh, Lina, Storm down to planet Earth? Are we still going to see them picked a lot? Are any of them now just in the shit tier? I think maybe the Storm nerf hurt the most. Now Ball Lightning takes a considerable larger amount of mana, as well as the Remnant damage getting nerfed. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Anyone else want to start this time? I feel like I've talked
What do
a
you
lot.
think, Noxville? Yeah, come on. You're the stats guy. How you feeling here? I know in the pub scene they've been losing a lot, but I'm curious about Pro Dota.
I mean, I think that their individual nerfs were pretty big, but the thing which like topples it over is that Bloodstone got nerfed in a big way, and that was like one of the key issues with Storm and Leshrac. So for those two, it's pretty big. Lena's still, I think, is still playable, but not necessarily in the same way that she was before. Like you can't. I don't think you can go Yule's Rush at the moment. I think you need to go for that Ags a little bit faster. Maybe some more utility items like an early Force-Off, Shadow Blade, something mobility to get you into a fight. I don't think Yule's is going to be great with it anymore.
Yeah, I think Lina as a support is much weaker. As a core, she's still decent. Not as broken as before, I would say, but Lesh, I think is still good, actually, just not broken. I think it's very playable, in fact. Storm, on the other hand, I'm not quite sure. Like, the numbers can be deceiving. I kind of want to wait to see it once. Like, teams are not picking it right now, but give it like a month and we'll see. I think I'm reserving my judgment on Storm till then. But I mean, that hero is just so, like, on paper is just broken, right? His ultimate, he can go wherever he wants, basically. Like, it's really hard to balance a hero like that, I think.
Yeah, I like
generally. Okay, go ahead.
No, you please, Sid. Okay. You know what you're talking about.
Okay. I pretend. I'm good at pretending. So
no, that's my job to pretend.
The thing that generally happens, I feel, after a big patch drops, you could say this one isn't the biggest, but it still has some pretty decent changes. The teams will immediately, obviously, go over the change log. They will look at, okay, what got buffed a lot and what got nerfed. And then the heroes that they liked to play in the past that got nerfed, they will step away from for a while to try the other things, and then they will come back to them later as a comfort zone if they need it. So I think the fact that we don't see any Storm or any Lash or any Lina or whatever, I'm not sure what the pick rates are in pro games right now, but let's say they were all disappeared. I think in about a month we'll start seeing them again. And it's just because right now the players are testing all the stuff in the patch notes that they think sounds the best right now. And then after testing them and finding out, okay, maybe that buff wasn't actually that incredible. Maybe the +1 armor on Ogre did not make him a first pick after all, or maybe Bloodlust on Towers isn't that incredible. And then you're suddenly like, okay, so what were we good with 2 months ago? Oh yeah, we were really good with Storm. Well, yeah, he did get nerfed, but if you look at the other heroes enemy teams pick right now, it's actually pretty good. So let's try it. And then all of a sudden, the meta kind of, I don't want to call it goes full circle, because they will definitely not be picked as much as they were last patch. Let's be real. The nerfs are significant, but I don't think any of them is dead. Not even Storm.
I mean, a hero like TA is also someone to look for, because she wasn't touched, and the people that were decent against her got nerfed. I mean, there's still some that got buffed, I guess, but like Ogre's actually a decent counter, but TA was absolutely untouched and was a comfort pick for a lot of teams, so...
Shadow Fiend also wasn't touched at all this patch. I was honestly expecting him to maybe get a small nerf, and was that just crazy? I mean, do you guys feel like SF is in a pretty good spot still?
I think he's pretty balanced.
Yeah, I think he's all right. I think if you want to nerf Shadow Fiend, it's more about deciding what role you want the mid laner to play. If you want to nerf Shadow Fiend, I think you nerf stacking. And then you also hit other heroes. That's what makes him crazy, is how good he is at clearing stacks.
Right.
They could have done that, like for Storm, who pretty much is in the same position. They just upped the mana cost of his nuke, right? His static.
He can definitely still farm stacks. I think the nerf hits harder when it's to team fight participation than farming.
Well, they also reduced the damage. I think with Storm, it's like they've limited his ability to just snowball out of control in the first 10 to 15 minutes. Now those initial few rounds of farming stacks are slower, less mana efficient, and I think that's the big change. Late game, well, he still also got nerfed because of the ball lightning, but it's about the momentum. Before, he was able just to farm so quickly. Even if you try to contest his stacks, unless you're vastly successful and kill him multiple times, he can really get out of control. But maybe we should talk about Terrorblade as well. We've been talking about competitive mostly. Of course, he was removed from Captain's Mode, so now we have a third hero that is no longer pickable in our competitive format. What are you guys thinking about this rework? I'm curious what you're thinking here. JJ, thoughts about old Terrorblade?
I played against him twice. Well, I didn't personally, but someone in my stack. And then we killed him, I think, before at the first skirmish already, and he still came out even on the lane. So yeah, Reflection on 900 AoE is pretty freaking insane, especially if you have something in your team like a Spectre or something. Like, Spectre's gonna kill itself. And it's making really interesting games because his power spike is way earlier, it feels like for me at least, than what he used to be. And I'm really curious how well he's gonna shape up with a 550 Thundercast range as some sort of like brawling melee guy who's really like more of a mid-game dominator than anything else right now, because he's still nerfed to death from the illusions, right? So I don't know. I just really want to watch him play, and the problem is he's removed from Captain's Mode. Great.
Yeah, I think it was the right call to remove him, though. I've only played against him in one game. He destroyed my team, but that was an isolated low pub experience. He feels pretty strong to me, though. I think these changes definitely make him strong, more than viable.
I'd like to give a shout out to our beloved owner, Moon Meander, who's in the chat right now. Thank you for sponsoring our studio. As far as Terrorblade is concerned, I mean, this is another thing I'm gonna reserve judgment for because the changes are pretty drastic for the hero. But the thing I still don't like, and I never did, I know Cinder, you agree with me on this, is the fact that Metamorphosis should be the ultimate. It used to be the ultimate, but it's now his third skill, and Sunder is just completely random.
I've talked to Cinder about this as well. That's like the Earth Spirit thing, about how Earth Spirit is a really cool concept that just feels like the numbers aren't quite right. Terrorblade is the complete opposite, right? The concept is, what is this hero supposed to do? Why is Sunder his ultimate? How does that synergize with the rest of his abilities? Because he used to have that life drain shit. So it was kind of like, okay, you can Sunder and then you can life drain, and he could manipulate HP, which was kind of a niche. And now he doesn't have that. I don't know. Was that an accurate summary?
The technical synergy is with the illusions, I guess, right? Thundering.
I don't really like the idea of having a hero with two so long cooldowns as he does. And then Sunder's cooldown, I think, afterwards was nerfed, so it's kind of counterintuitive. But I have to
It's a weird
admit, as
hero.
far as the new Terrorblade, I haven't really looked much into the design. I kind of just read over it. It was like, oh, it's not in Captain's mode, then, well... as far as public games, I have not played against it. I only played against it one time today, which was an overthrow, and it was fucking broken, but that was overthrow, so, you know, it's not really that representative, so I honestly don't know. I think the good thing, all in all, is just that he's getting a rework. I hope this goes in the right direction. The hero needed a rework, in my opinion, one way or the other, and whether this one's the right one, I don't know, but it's just, it shows they're working on it. That's the most important.
Fair enough. So
They've been working on that hero for a decade. Let's not kid ourselves. They have
Well,
reworked this hero so many
We're
times.
trying again.
Like, this is the 4th. Am I not mistaken? This is the 4th
well,
rework
it
of
depends
this
where
hero?
you draw the line between rework and changing one of his spells. But yeah, he has been turned upside down quite a few times throughout the history of Dota. But we are coming to the end here, folks, and I want to round out this discussion with a little bit of data we've got from our stats guy here, Mr. Noxville, in terms of what we've been seeing so far in the competitive scene. Obviously, there haven't been too many matches since the patch has hit, but we've seen a little bit in terms of WCA qualifiers and a few other tournaments. So, Noxville, give us the rundown here. You got a little bit of a data dump for us on initial heroes that are most picked, most banned, and all that good stuff.
Yes, I mean, this is not really of a huge sample, like you said, because a lot of the ticket systems were broken, but there's still like some data that we have. Most picked heroes so far: Winter Wyvern, Tusk, Ember. I think the unusual one there is possibly the Ember. I've seen him in a lot of the games I've watched this patch. Most banned heroes: Darkseer, Queen of Pain, Spectre, Bounty. The unexpected one there is Darkseer because he actually got a slight nerf. Whereas the rest were solid in the previous patch, or in the case of Spectre, he got a big buff. Most picked or banned is just a combination of those with Gyrocopter. And yeah, the biggest raw increase in pick ban is Spectre, then Ember, then Darkseer, then Ogre Magi. And those are, like we've discussed so far. And the biggest raw decrease are Leshrac, Storm, then Rubik, then Undying. So the unusual one there is the Rubik. Maybe that's worth a discussion. But the biggest significant relative increase is Doom, who was only picked in 1 in like 70 games or something like that. 0.7%, and now it's picked in 15%. So
Wow.
that's like a substantial increase. And Alliance, I saw do that in a couple of games. It didn't look so good, but
But
yeah,
they picked
it was, and they picked it nonetheless.
I think we're
Well-
going to see more Doom, more Spectre,
Yeah.
and the hero that I wasn't too... I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason Ember's getting picked more is because Storm's not there, right? And that's a huge
It's because other carries that were considered top tier at TI, together with Ember, all got nerfed. Like every single one, I think, got nerfed, apart from Ember. Anti-Mage got a slight nerf to Blink. I think his is the least significant, but then there's like Gyro got nerfed, PL got nerfed. I'm missing one more here that was a big pick at TI that also got nerfed. That was another carry. Eluding me right now. There's another one.
Gyro?
I said, what did I say? I said Gyro, PL, and there's one more. That was a big carry at TI. I think one more. got
AM.
nerfed.
Bloodseeker?
Yeah. No. Well, Bloodseeker also got nerfed. He wasn't a big pick though. Maybe there isn't another one. Maybe I'm just looking for a hero that doesn't.
I'm
exist,
not
but-
sure.
But at least Ember, correct me if I'm wrong, he did not get nerfed. I think he was completely unchanged, correct?
That
This
is
patch?
correct.
Yeah.
It was
So-
completely unchanged.
And that's also that it's the same logic. Like you're saying, it's surprised that Darkseer is one of the most banned. But if you look at the field of heroes that were popular at TI5, then Darkseer was really popular, and he's one of the only really popular heroes that got the least significant nerf. Like -2 int is not that big of a deal for that hero, whereas Bounty's nerf is bigger. The other heroes I mentioned also bigger nerfs. So that just puts Darkseer. He just gets pushed up the ladder for pick order. So he's like a first phase right now. I'm not surprised by that at all, actually.
I would
the
be
Rubik
curious
is
to toss
surprising
the
for me.
question back. Yeah, about the Rubik. That's exactly what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
And he was not changed at all, and I can't really think of any reason why Rubik would be falling off so much in terms of pick and ban rate.
Was he a clear counterpick to anything that got nerfed? I don't think so.
I mean, he's okay against Storm, sort of. Stealing Ball Lightning's annoying. Lesh has good spells to steal.
Techies, bro.
Yeah,
Isn't Rubik like one of those picks where like everyone just goes away from him, and the more the patch goes on, the more people actually play more with the Rubik again. It's like super stable. Every time you feel the Rubik, it's gonna work-ish. He's not the best laner. He's pretty good in team fights if you give him the ultimate. So it's like I don't know. You can nerf him as much as you want, and even if you don't nerf him, it's like he's gonna come back eventually, just not at the first few days of the patch.
Didn't somebody play a Rubik mid? Was it Monkey Business?
Yeah, it was Miracle. Miracle
Yeah.
owned with a Rubik mid. That was
Yeah.
There was this 4v5 game, absolutely insane.
Oh yeah, where
No-Tail
No-Tail played Tiny and
Crazy.
Wisp, and they still won. That shit was unreal. That was an
was a game.
incredible display. That was a game indeed. So, all right. Well, it's been an interesting patch. Overall, guys, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. What are we thinking? 6.85. Would you rate it a good patch?
Good stuff, bro.
Good stuff, bro.
I think a lot of people are saying that it's not that big of a patch, which is true in comparison to 6.84, but still a pretty big patch, man. I mean, changing a lot of these numbers, there's a lot of implications that people probably haven't even brought up at this point. You just won't know until you see it in action.
I think the timing is really good. We still got another week before ESL comes out for teams to continue theory crafting. Then after that, major qualifiers start in, 10 days? Something like that, the 6th of October. So we could see all sorts of wonky strats come out in the qualifiers, especially the open qualifier with these teams that are all trying to make a name for themselves. That's when the crazy strats can come out. Who knows? Maybe we will see some alchemists farming an Aghanims for Undying, some little cheese
dream.
there. Who knows? The dream for the qualifiers. So that about does it, folks. I think that brings us to the end for episode 2 of What the Duck. Per usual, you can find all of the updates here on our social media. Everything is moonduck TV on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. The VOD for this episode will be uploaded to our YouTube. Again, that's youtube.com/moonducktv. I want to give a special shout out to our guest today, Noxville. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure, my friend. Hopefully we get to see a little more of you here around Moonduck, and good luck in all of your stats endeavors, good sir. We appreciate your work.
Thank you.
All
Good
right,
luck for
that's
ESL.
it. Oh, thanks, man. Any other closing thoughts? Shannon, SUNSfan, pimpmuckL, you got anything, or is that it? Are we pulling the plug on this baby?
I think we need to end the episode with syndereN's baby rage laugh.
Fair enough.
Ah,
That
I'm
is-
gonna cut you off right now. This is
All right, okay, that's fine. Too late, hack got it. Fine.
got it.
All right, see you next time, guys, for What the Duck. This is Moonduck signing off.
Wahrscheinlich jetzt mittlerweile auch nicht mehr.
Ja, das ist doch
Das
gut,
wird-
dann können